Hello there, Dan the Weatherman here. Hey, welcome to my weather show. This is the global edition where I take a look at things around the world. And there's been some pretty peculiar things going on. We start off talking about heat, we talk about dry, and we head to North America where it's been very dry, an extreme drought for the southwestern parts of the US. And you think, well, what on earth does very low reservoir levels for Lake Mead, southwestern parts of the US, and a bear, yes, a bear, climbing up a power pole? Yes. Look at this poor guy climbing up a power pole in Arizona. They're all related to the very dry, hot conditions, the drought over the southwestern US. This poor guy, of course, he's coming out of the national forest. He's looking for food. When, of course, there hasn't been as much food, of course, drier conditions, it makes it difficult. So this guy's looking for whatever he can find. That dry weather, no end in sight. And when you look at the temperatures well above normal, we're into the pre-monsoon season where we get temperatures into the triple digits. Look at that warmer than normal blob there. The reason why it's been so bad this season, of course, the usual story, it's the jet stream. Show you that in a second. But look at this over the course of the week. Warmer than normal, and it's like some tomato sauce thrown at the weather map. That heat continues. Notice this little blue blob here. That's a surge to some cooler, but of course, of all places, eastern US, that heat stays there over much of the western US and really western Canada right through the course of the week and beyond. And I mentioned it's down to the jet stream, the usual culprit. Whenever the jet stream goes further north, like it's doing here, this is the US, that's Europe over there, that allows all the warm air to rise its way north. And you can see the big buckle there, a big mountain of warm air. And the upper ridge has been stronger than normal. It's actually been extending back into the Pacific. So that's been pushing the jet north. That's been making it drier and, of course, just exacerbating the conditions for, of course, moisture and everything else. Let's run this through the week and you'll see what happens. Does it change? Believe it or not, not really. And it's almost like a persistent bubble here. You see how the jet stream, the kink there, the upper trough, wants to move down, but look where it goes. It goes up and there's, oh, okay, I've got to go this way. And then it drops down with that cooler surge, eastern US. That's later in the week. That still sits there, hot and dry. And while we're looking at later in the week, look at that big curl there. That's a big change in the weather there to parts of Europe. They've had some lovely warm weather. I'll show you what happens there in a second. One last thing to point out across North America. This is a different view. Florida is there, California, Baja of Mexico. This is the upper level steering winds. Can you see a big blob of blue there? That's the big mountain of warm air. This is interesting because that's sitting there. When that moves north in the summer, that allows the moisture from Mexico to get in and start hinting at those summer thunderstorms. Or several weeks away from that. But see how this is a trough here? That will be some upper energy to move into what's the Gulf of Mexico and in particular the Bay of Campeche. And you say, well, why is that interesting? We're into hurricane season now. That could be just enough with some warm seas to perhaps give us some of the first tropical troublemakers, hurricanes of the season. And look at this blob here develop, could get a small circulation and also off the Mexican Riviera going into the later parts of the week. Look at that right there. That could be something, a low end storm, and also that one there could develop into hurricanes later in the week. So we are getting into that time, but look at all that dry there further north with that big mountain of warm air. I've mentioned all the fine weather across much of Europe. It's great, of course, for the Euro football tournament, looking pretty good. One front there, a lot of high pressure. You've got one there, you've got one there. We run through the week. There's matches from Sevilla right the way to London, to Glasgow, all in pretty decent shape. One little cut-off low provides some showers to perhaps parts of Romania, but nothing really changes. You've got the big upper ridge, looking fine, temperatures 20s, could even be a few 30s, of course, further south, but pretty decent weather, just bits and pieces of moisture around here and there. We track our way on from Europe and then we head our way down under, looking at Australia. They, of course, had the snow. They had the cut-off low last week. They've got another blast coming in this week. New Zealand, slightly different story. They've got the warm flow from the North Tasman Sea. That sucks in all the moisture from the subtropics. Look at this thing pile its way in with moisture, a couple of 100 millimeters to the west of the South Island. Cold air staying south. That's going to be warm and wet for them. But for Australia, it's another stormy thing working in there with some much colder air to spread in. And of course some rain, maybe even some snow. That's the weather for now.